Welcome, everyone, to my podcast. Um, Today's topic is narcissistic family dynamics. Um, and before we begin, I want to make something very clear. Um, Not every difficult parent, sibling, or family member is a narcissist. This discussion is intended for education, self reflection, and healing. It is not intended to diagnose everyone. Um, so if it applies to your situation, that's fine. If it doesn't, just move on. Um, One thing I've learned over the years is that not everyone gets a different version of the same person. The neighbor may see kindness, the church may see generosity, and friends may see charm. Coworkers may see confidence, but the people living inside the home are often the ones who experience something very, very different. Today, we're discussing narcissistic mothers, fathers, siblings, and the long lasting impact these family dynamics can have on adult children. But I want to make one thing very clear, though, is even though if you grew up with toxic, dysfunctional family members, it does leave a long-lasting impact on your life. But at some point, you have to stop, break generational curses, and your healing becomes your responsibility. But moving on, why family dysfunction is so confusing. Um, One of the most difficult aspects of family dysfunction is that we rarely it looks like dysfunction from the outside. So many adult children struggle because they spend years trying to explain experiences that others never witnessed. People often say, but she's your mother, she's your father, that's your sister, as if a title automatically guarantees healthy behavior. It doesn't, and it doesn't excuse anybody else's toxic dysfunctions and stuff that they've done to you. And until they take accountability and give a genuine apology, and you can see that they're actually working on themselves to do better, to be better, to show up better, then no, their title doesn't matter. Family roles can become deeply ingrained. Some children become the caretaker, some become the peacekeeper, some become the golden child, others become the scapegoat. And the child blamed for everything, the child nobody believes, the child expected to absorb the dysfunction so everyone else can stay comfortable. Um, that's a really horrible position to be in, especially if you're that child or the adult child, because it can carry on clear into your 60s. There's some people that still struggle with the dynamics of the toxicity of everything. Let's first talk about narcissistic mothers. Um, a narcissistic mother often struggles to see their child as a separate individual. Instead, the child becomes an extension of her. If the child succeeds, she takes credit. If the child struggles, she may feel embarrassed or personally attacked. Boundaries are often viewed as disrespect. Um, like, for an example, if you're the caretaker that's been put in a position of an adult mother and you're an adult child and she keeps constantly asking and asking and just for things like things that she can clearly do on her own, and you say, no mom, I cannot do that right now, I'm busy, or here's the phone number. The peace in your house won't last because I see it as an attack. It's disrespectful. How dare you not do that for me? They throw adult tantrum fits. And it's sometimes, unless you've experienced it, is like nothing you can explain. Like crawling up the stairs naked, like something off The Exorcism. That is weird. That is not normal. That is toxic. But anyway, independence is viewed as rejection. Many adults describe feeling guilty simply for living their own lives. Some common patterns include guilt trips, victim mentality, uh, favoritism, silent treatment, emotional manipulation, control disguised as concern. One child may become the golden child, and another may become the scapegoat. The hardest part is that many narcissistic mothers are extremely concerned with public image. You know, like how they look towards their siblings, brothers, sisters, like how dare you expose them for who they really are. Um, this often leaves the adult child questioning their own reality because everyone sees them as uh not that person. So when the adult child starts being like, no, this is what I grew up with, they're like, oh, or they shift blame, like, or maybe it's not your mother. Maybe it's uh the person they're with. Maybe they mind controlled them or manipulated them into behaving that way. And it's like, no, they've always been that way. Um, narcissistic fathers. Now let's talk about narcissistic fathers. Um, narcissistic fathers often place a strong emphasis on authority, control, image, and obedience. Children may grow up constantly trying to earn approval that never arrives. No matter what they accomplish, it never feels like enough. Many adult children describe feeling unseen, not because they weren't physically present, but because their emotional needs just truly were never acknowledged. Some narcissistic fathers use anger, others use intimidation, others use criticism, sarcasm, or emotional distance, which can be really, 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 really abusive and harmful, especially if they're commenting on your physical appearance, um, your physique, like things that are inappropriate. Um, like making fun of your breast size, or if you have had problems that are medical and they're like, oh, just picking and jabbing and just ignorant stuff. And um the child that learns to perform rather than connect. That's the thing. Many adults carry this pattern into relationships, careers, and friendships, still trying to prove they are worthy, still trying to earn validation, still trying to become enough. Now, here's another one that people often miss: the narcissistic sibling. This is the family role that doesn't get enough attention. Narcissistic siblings can create tremendous damage. Many people often assume siblings' conflict is normal, and some of it is, and some of it isn't. But there's a difference between sibling rivalry and long-term emotional abuse. Narcissistic siblings often compete constantly, even when there's like no competition. Like, what are you competing for? It's like all made up shit in their head. Excuse my language. Um, your success feels threatening to them. Your happiness feels threatening to them. Your accomplishments become something they need to diminish, and the narcissistic parents can diminish it too. Like one minute they'll be ranting and raving, "Oh, my kid's doing so good in school and they got all these diplomas," and but then as soon as the narrative doesn't match the agenda and you're done with them because of all the toxic shenanigans that you can no longer tolerate because you're breaking generational curses and you do not want to expose your children to that, and then all of a sudden then all your accomplishments that once glorified them in the eyes of other people become minuscule. All of a sudden they're like, "Oh, no. Uh those diplomas are fake and she didn't earn nothing," and it's just really vile, disgusting abuse. It's just unless you've experienced it, it is a mental whirlwind like no other, I'm telling you. But many people describe narcissistic sisters as using uh relational aggression. So, for an example, gossip, exclusion, triangulation, triangulation, backhanded compliments, playing victim, creating drama, lies that are just so far fetched and out there that when you actually hear them, like if your family stops talking to you for like you don't even know why because they're so toxic and can't communicate, nor have the balls to just tell you straight up to your face why they don't talk to you anymore. When you actually hear the slanderous like attack of your character from people that you don't even know, you're like, whoa, like how do they think of shit that is that far fetched? Like I have no clue, but it's out there. So manipulating family members against one another. Um, Narcissistic brothers can display similar behaviors through some may lean more towards dominance, intimidation, entitlement, or control. So the aspect variance between female and male, the male is more controlling, while the female is more sly and cunning, and it's just it's out there, man. Um, but one of the most painful parts about family members often is the minimizing of sibling abuse. People say, that's just how your sisters are. That's how big brothers are, or being a brother is, or when in reality some wounds created by siblings last a lifetime. Same with parents, and oh, that's just your mom and you only get one, and it's like if you've never not all abuse is physical. Sometimes it's straight up mental. And unless you've been there, sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for yourself, your family, and that you create is walking away from the family that you come from. Only if they're not willing to take accountability and communicate like adults. I'm not saying that's for everybody, because to each their own. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't forgive these people or blah 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 blah. We'll get into that in another podcast because that I think forgiveness is a very personal thing. And it's like they say, if you cannot forgive, give it to God, give it to Creator, forget about it, you know? Start your own healing journey within. You know, don't let them occupy more time, more space, more whatever in your brain than they already have, unless you're turning your pain into purpose and sharing with other people your education, your um, knowledge, your journey, how you had to deal with it firsthand. that could be really beneficial to other people that feel alone, that don't, understand what might be happening to them, because narcissistic abuse is so sneaky that people might not even know that it's happening to them. But so the healing journey. So how do people begin healing? First is by accepting the reality, not the family you wished you had, the family you actually had. Stop seeking validation from people committed to misunderstanding your experience. Not everyone will understand, not everyone will believe you, and that is okay. Third, build a life that's bigger than your wounds. Your identity is not your trauma. Your purpose is not your pain. Your future is not determined by your past. Healing does not mean pretending nothing happened. Healing means refusing to let what happened define you for the rest of your life. And when I talk about healing, I'm talking about healing against toxic family. I'm not talking about, like if you've lost somebody that you've loved, that you're super close with, and they're now in heaven. I'm not talking about that kind of healing, because that's a whole new ball game. And if you lose somebody, you don't really heal from that. You just learn how to carry it. But toxic family stuff, it's you can heal your mind, and you can break generational curses, so your children and their future children do not have to carry that bullshit forward with them any longer. Um, if any part of the discussion resonated with you today, just know that you're not alone. Family dysfunction affects millions of people, yet many suffer in silence because they fear judgment, disbelief, or rejection. Thank you for joining me today's episode of the Psycholistic Synergy podcast. If you found value in this discussion, consider subscribing, sharing, and joining the conversation below. I love to hear stories, and I do read comments, and I do try to reply to everybody. What family dynamics do you think is talked about the least? Narcissistic mothers, fathers, or siblings? Until next time, take care of your mind, protect your peace, and keep healing. Namaste.